2015 is now officially a part of history. I hope you all had a very fun, safe, and happy new year and are gearing up for a great 2016. And since the new year has arrived, I decided that I would do something a little bit different for you guys. Something I have been doing long before I was ever doing YouTube videos. I am going to give you guys my list for the top 10 best movies of 2015. Now originally I wasn't going to make a video for this because I feel these kind of videos are meant primarily for YouTube movie critics. And despite what most people see me as, I don't really see myself as a movie critic. I see myself as a movie spoiler, or movie analyzer if I care about sounding more professional. But I thought about it more and I did realize I do spend the majority of my videos talking about what I liked or didn't like about a movie. So I guess you could say I'm a really detailed and specific movie critic. So with all that considered, I chose to go through with this video. Now, just a couple of quick pointers I want to give you guys before I give you my list. Number one, I haven't seen every single movie that came out in 2015. As much as I would have loved to, I simply do not have the time or the money to see every movie that gets released a year. So when you see my list and you think to yourself, why don't you have this movie or that movie on your list? What the hell? It is entirely possible that I haven't seen it yet. And point number two, I know I'm dragging this video way out, but these are the things I need to address. Some of the videos that are on this list I do not have spoilers for, because I didn't start doing YouTube until June of 2015. So anything that I saw before June of 2015, I do not have videos for. Will I make spoilers for them at some point? It's certainly possible. But for now, I don't. The ones I did though, I'll add little annotations throughout this video so you can check them out if you haven't already. Alright, I've said what I need to say, so now let's talk about the 10 best movies of 2015, per my opinion. Kicking off my list at number 10 is Kingsman: The Secret Service. Some people call this movie a spy version of Kick-Ass. Others call it as if Quentin Tarantino directed a James Bond movie. However you want to phrase it, this movie was awesome. The cast in this movie was great. Colin Firth was a complete badass. Samuel L. Jackson played a great villain with a lisp. Taron Egerton, he was really good here. The training scenes are awesome, the action scenes and the fight scenes are so entertaining. It had good humor, it had a good story, and I really hope this is the start of a Kingsman franchise because I really want to see more of these. Next on the list at number 9, we have Trainwreck. I was going through the movies I saw this year and I decided, you know what? Trainwreck deserves to be on here. Because even though, like I said in my spoiler, that this movie didn't have really any gut-busting laughing moments that I always look for in every comedy that I see, I still laughed a lot in this movie. Some moments that did have me pretty close to gut-busting. Amy Schumer was awesome, Bill Hader was awesome, LeBron James, he was even good. The writing in this movie is done so well. But what I love most in this movie is it does what most romantic comedies fail to do, and that is make the relationship in this movie appear real. This is a movie that you can watch with your boyfriend and girlfriend, and you can look at each other and say, we've had fights like this, we've had pasts like this, we've made up like this, we love each other because of things like this. Point being, it took romantic comedies to school on how to do it like a champ, and no other comedy this year was as funny, smart, or original as Trainwreck. Movie like that's gotta make the list. When a franchise hits its 5th movie, chances are the movie is gonna suck and it's simply being used as a way to make money. Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, however, is among the exceptions, and that's why it's number 8. Tom Cruise is over 50 years old now, and this guy is still one of the best action movie stars in the business. Rebecca Ferguson, she was a badass in this movie. Simon Pegg brought really good humor into this movie. The movie had a great villain. The stunts in this movie are intense. It had really thrilling action scenes. The spy tech was really cool. I loved this movie, and if the Mission Impossible movies can continue to be this good, then I am cool with this franchise going on for as long as it can. Yep, Avengers Age of Ultron, that's gotta be on here. Why? Because this movie just continues to show why the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become one of the greatest film franchises out there. The storylines and the conflicts for each different Avenger is great. They all continue to have such great chemistry together. Ultron was the perfect villain, played so well by James Spader. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, they were great additions. Vision was so awesome in this movie. This movie had some very strong emotional moments that hit me where I live on more than one occasion. The visual effects, the fight scenes, the action, it was all so much fun to watch. The final act in this movie is so intense because of how high the stakes are. Now, is this movie as good as the first Avenger? I don't think so. The first Avengers being still, to this day, probably the best movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and what some consider to be the best superhero movie of all time, chances are it wasn't going to be as good. But it is still a sweet movie, and it has me more and more excited for the Marvel movies to come. So Age of Ultron, you get number 7. At number 6, we have a great movie that was based off a great book that I never read because I just hate reading. The film adaptation of The Martian, however, I thought was fantastic. Matt Damon was so awesome in this movie. It's one of the best roles I've seen him in for quite some time. The story is so interesting. It's just so amazing to see a guy who's stranded on Mars who has absolutely zero chance of getting back to Earth trying to find ways to survive. I love survival movies like that, and this movie did it really, really well. It's awesome seeing how Matt Damon is able to find ways to stay alive. This movie had a surprisingly funny tone to it. A movie like this you'd think would be like a real tear-jerking, hardcore drama. But no, this movie looked for the humor in this situation, and it worked out awesome. It's just also so great seeing how everyone from all over the world in this movie is trying to do everything they can to help bring Matt Damon back to Earth. It's a movie that really brings out the best in humanity. You can't go wrong with that. When Quentin Tarantino releases a movie, it's almost certainly going to make my top 10 list. This year he released The Hateful Eight, and it's number 5 on my list. This movie was everything you could ask for in a Quentin Tarantino movie. The characters in this movie were all awesome. Each actor plays their role flawlessly. The story is awesome. The mystery in this movie was great. It just added so much more to this movie, and it only made you that much more invested into it. The writing in this movie is phenomenal. It's traditional Tarantino dialogue that you'll want to quote and talk about with your friends. The violence in this movie is bloody and gory and entertaining as hell. The musical score in this movie was really good too. And the way this movie is filmed in 70mm format only added so much more to this movie. It was just so interesting to see this movie be filmed and portrayed the way it was because of the film format. It's just something you never see nowadays because most directors just want to film in the format used today. Quentin Tarantino, however, is not like most directors, and that's why his movies, like The Hateful Eight, are just amazing. It's no secret, I'm a Star Wars fanatic. The Force Awakens was awesome. Why wouldn't it make my list? So yeah, obviously it made the list. Star Wars The Force Awakens was the most anticipated movie of the year for pretty much everyone. And this movie completely lived up to its insane amount of hype and then some. The characters in this movie, they were all incredible. Finn, Rey, Poe Dameron, just to name a few, they were all great new heroes for the Star Wars saga. Kylo Ren was a really good and really interesting villain. Han, Leia, Chewie, C-3PO, R2-D2, it's so great seeing them all back in Star Wars. The visuals are absolutely amazing, the action sequences are fantastic, the musical score is still as incredible as it's always been. Now, does this movie borrow very similar plot elements from the original Star Wars movie? Yes, undeniably so. But those who really criticize The Force Awakens for that are forgetting to realize that J.J. Abrams basically had to relaunch the Star Wars saga because so many people did not like the prequels and missed what made the originals so iconic. I feel this movie did a really great job in paying homage to the original Star Wars movie as a way of bringing in new Star Wars fans so they could experience this Star Wars movie the same way those who grew up with the original trilogy got to experience it, while still adding a lot of new and different plot elements that we had never seen in a Star Wars movie before, so we long-term Star Wars fans could still experience something brand new with Star Wars. This movie did not disappoint me in the slightest. I had so much fun watching this movie and so much fun building up to it. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for having it as my number 4 instead of my number 1. I can tell you right now, if this was any normal year for movies, The Force Awakens would have been my number 1 for sure. But the following 3 movies on this list, not only do I consider them the 3 best movies of 2015, I've thought about it for a while, and I truly believe with all my heart that these are the 3 best movies of their respective genres that I have seen this entire decade. So yeah, like I just said, these next 3 movies being as awesome as they are, I just shuffled them around each other so many different times and trying to decide which one was the best movie of 2015. Took me a while, but I finally have them in their order. At number 3, we have Mad Max Fury Road. When this movie came out, people were just praising this movie as the best action movie of the decade. And after seeing it, I cannot disagree. This movie was so amazing. It took action movies to a level that I never expected it to take. The visual effects, when it does rely on them, are certainly good, but the practical effects that this movie primarily relies upon are completely mind-blowing. When you see these cars blowing up and these rocks crumble and these explosions happen, these are not CGI, these are not fake, these are actually happening. The stonework in this movie is incredible. The action in this movie is exciting and riveting and non-stop. There isn't a dull moment to be found anywhere in this movie. The story is great, the score is great, the cinematography is great. Tom Hardy is awesome as Mad Max. He plays the role so well. Nicholas Hoult was great in this movie. He provided so much heart and was such an interesting character. And Charlize Theron as Furiosa will forever be remembered as one of the greatest female action heroes of all time. She was a revelation. Is this movie completely insane and out of its mind? Absolutely. Will that turn some people off? Absolutely. But it's a movie called Mad Max Fury Road. What else would you expect? Number 2 is a movie that had such a powerful effect on me, and it is a movie that I will love and remember for the rest of my life. It is Pixar's return to form, and that is Inside Out. This movie was everything I was hoping it would be, and I walked out of it having gained so much more than I thought I would from it. The animation in this movie is just beautiful. It looks so great and it's so impressive. Each emotion in this movie was great. Joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. They were all awesome, so unique, and portrayed so well by each of their voice actors. Bane Bond, he was awesome in this movie. And above all, the way this movie portrays the human mind in showing why we feel the way we do and become the people we are is sheer genius. I truly believe with all of my heart that this is an animation that adults will love more than kids. I mean, kids will love this movie for the characters, the story, the humor, and the adventure. And adults will love it for all those reasons as well. But they will love it more because they understand the metaphors and the circumstances that are used to explain how our mind works. Why we feel the way we do, why we forget certain memories along the way, why certain memories shape us into who we are as people. Why happy memories can turn into sad memories. Why one day we may not be doing so good at something that we're usually good at. I found myself laughing a lot and even nearly crying to how well this movie portrays what happens in our mind. There have been some people who saw this movie and were like, it was too sad, I hated it. Does this movie have a sad tone at times? Absolutely it does. But that's what the whole lesson in this movie is. Every emotion you have is important. You cannot just be happy all the time. You need to express how you feel at any given circumstance. A lot of people will say it's way more important to be happy than sad. You should always look on the positive side of things. But this movie explains that no emotion is above another one, and you cannot be afraid to express how you are feeling. It's one of the smartest concepts I have seen in movies in a while, and I truly feel Inside Out is the best animated movie I have seen this decade. And this is it, my number 1, my favorite of the year. My pick for the best all-around movie of 2015 is Creed. Creed was a movie that came out of nowhere for me. It's a movie that I didn't know too much about when I saw its previews. Then when it did come out, I heard it was getting really good reviews, and when I saw it, I walked out completely blown away by it. And I consider this movie the best sports movie I have seen this decade. No other movie this year had me engaged the most, had me on the edge of my seat the most, had my eyes welling up in tears the most, and had me thinking more than Creed. Creed had to be the resurrection of the Rocky franchise, and it did it perfectly. Michael B. Jordan was excellent as Adonis Creed. He played this role perfectly. Seeing him train, seeing the relationship he develops with his girlfriend, seeing how committed he is in trying to become a great boxer, it makes you root for him so much more, and it makes you feel for him so much when things don't exactly go his way. Sylvester Stallone, though, is absolutely sensational in this movie. Not only is it great to see him back as Rocky, but he gives hands down the best performance in the movie, and I think hands down the best supporting role of the year. He should absolutely be the front runner for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars this year. The relationship that he develops with Michael B. Jordan in this movie is just so awesome and adds so much heart to this movie. It's great seeing the kind of father-son relationship that they develop in this movie. The actual fight scenes in this movie were awesome. They were edited so crisp and so well that each fight truly did look like one continuous boxing round. And because these fights looked as real as they did, it added so much more excitement and intensity to this movie and made us more engaged with it as a result. Swear to you, because the fights were portrayed as well as they did, it had me on the edge of my seat just ready to jump out of it and cheer if it looked like Michael B. Jordan was gonna win. It's like when I watch the Patriots every Sunday. That kind of an effect that the movie can take on you is just incredible. The musical score was great. The emotion in this movie is so strong. Like I said, there are a lot of moments in this movie, whether they're sad or just feel-good moments, that I literally almost broke into tears. And the lesson in this movie is one that everyone should hear. And that is, make a legacy out of yourself. Become your own person. Strive to be the best you that you can be. Don't worry about taking someone else's place or trying to do someone or something justice. And don't live off someone else's greatness. Go out into the world and make greatness out of yourself. Because that is where the best honor comes from. Bottom line is, I've seen a lot of movies this year. Some good, some bad. But no other movie had an impact on me like this one. Some people will look back on this year and say the movie of the year was Mad Max. Most will probably look back on it and say it was Star Wars. And as much as I loved both of those movies, when I look back and I think of the movie of 2015, I'm going to think of Creed. And Michael B. Jordan, I am very happy to say that you are officially forgiven for your involvement in Fantastic Four. Everyone else who was a part of that disgrace still has to earn my respect back, but you, sir, are off the hook. And there it is. That is my list for the top 10 best movies of 2015. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, does this mean I'm going to make a top 10 worst list of the year? The answer to that is no, I'm not. Because unlike a lot of movie reviewers on YouTube, I'm not really able to screen movies. I gotta go to the movie theater and I gotta spend $10 to $15 to see a movie. And unless it's a movie I feel I need to see, I'm just not gonna spend money to see a bad movie. There were a couple of terrible movies that I did see this year, but certainly not enough to make a top 10 worst list. However, I do want to get another top 10 list up for you guys. I have one that I will hopefully get uploaded for you guys within the next couple of days, so be on the lookout to find out what that is. But for now, that's all I gotta say. So guys, thank you so much for watching my video, and thank you for a great 2015. Don't forget to leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys think of my top 10 list. Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? What were your favorites of the year? I'd love to hear your answers to all these questions, so go nuts. And also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.